all through what I think is one of the most important aspects of MTCC Caribbean. The Regional Steering Committee is conceptualized to assist in achieving the objectives of MTCC Caribbean. Throughout the presentations yesterday, we emphasized the need for partnerships, the need for industry involvement, the need for academia, the need for partners in implementation. The Regional Steering Committee, we hope, will be an effective mechanism to facilitate this. We conceptualize the Regional Steering Committee as members throughout the region, and we are using the sub-regions as the basis for representation. So I will take you through our Regional Steering Committee this morning, and I would invite you all to think about if any of you have actually read the terms of reference before coming in. I'm open to suggestions. We have a session this afternoon dedicated to feedback on the terms of reference in anticipation that some of you may have not had the time to digest its contents and may want some time to give further feedback. But if you already have your feedback, we're willing to take it on this morning. So without further delay, I'd like to get into the actual composition of the terms of the Regional Steering Committee. In terms of the purpose, as I mentioned, the Regional Steering Committee will serve as voluntary facilitators and champions of the objectives of MTCC Caribbean. So yes, this is not going to be a paying job, unfortunately, but we do hope that industry champions, I have to say at the Maritime Studies Unit, we have been so very fortunate that our industry stakeholders are so very supportive of us. From funding events on the campus to assisting in filling gaps in our team, facilitating a guest lecture, outreach, advertising, promoting the campus. So I would hope that we would be able to create a regional council of a similar nature. So in our way, again, if I can draw a parallel to the Maritime Advisory Group at UTT Maritime Studies, we have representatives of shipping companies that are international. We have representatives from our energy majors, and that committee was chaired since inception by Pilot Master Kurt Duncan, one of the most significant leaders in our local maritime industry. So patterning from that and the success that we've enjoyed from having such an advisory council that would intervene, that will tell us this is a good idea, you should get involved in training of this nature, or maybe you should invest in a program of this nature. We thought a regional steering committee will add significant benefit to MTCC Caribbean. So as champions of MTCC Caribbean, we would again expect that you will also be facilitators in your respective sub-region, that you would be the one asking, hey, have you done this? Have you implemented this form? What can we do to help? Is there a bottleneck? What is the delay in implementation? Can we get feedback? So we're essentially hoping that this committee will be our voice in the respective jurisdictions, as well as a mechanism to feedback to us as to how we can improve or how we can take advantage of emerging opportunities or existing opportunities. Administratively, in terms of the composition, we have the chairperson of the Regional Steering Committee being the director of MTCC Caribbean. Now that is not narcissistic. It was entirely because from an operational standpoint, it is just more effective, because when you see the secretariat for the MTCC Caribbean will essentially be the technical secretariat for MTCC Caribbean, which is essentially Kevin, Michael, and Suzette that you've come to know over the last day or two and have been corresponding with you over the last few months. So operationally, it just makes sense in terms of that chairperson being the lead and assisting in coordinating the views and implementing the feedback from the Regional Steering Committee. So as the current composition, and we're open to feedback, will be the director of the MTCC as the chairperson. we need to have at least one member from each sub-region nominated by the sub-regions to be a member of the Regional Steering Committee. Well, some of you might be familiar, all of you might be familiar now with your sub-regions. You were working within your sub-regions yesterday, and we'll have a slide that demonstrates that coming up. But we need to have, and some of you may have already started thinking as to who might be nominated to assist or sit in this Regional Steering Committee. Should there be competition, MTCC Caribbean will facilitate in the manner that you're comfortable with in facilitating your nomination. I'm hoping that it will be consensual amongst the region, that you all will agree amongst yourself. But if it is that you want to facilitate a ballot or a vote, the MTCC Caribbean team will facilitate that nomination. We are targeting 2 representatives from non-governmental organizations with established interests in the maritime sector. So over here, we're hoping that we would attract the shipping associations, the Caribbean Shipping Association, to be a member, and NGOs that demonstrate maritime interests. It need not be just the shipping associations. We have NGOs with interests that are heavily environmental in nature, so we're open to that sort of nomination as well. 2 members of the maritime industry, and this will include ship owners, freight forwarders. Each of us know what constitutes our maritime industry. So in Trinidad, for example, we see a lot of big names, Maersk, CMA, CGM, lovely offices, but these are not necessarily the ship owning offices. These are essentially the offices that facilitate the paperwork. And while that representation is also very important, we do want to target ship owners as well, to the extent that they exist in the region or they are registered in the region to participate in MTCC Caribbean. In terms of the larger flag states that exist in the region, if you all can lobby to get a representative of a significant ship owner from your registry, that will be most welcome. 1 selected representative from MTCC Caribbean, that will be amongst the team ourselves. We would represent 1 member of the team to act as a facilitator in case the director is unable to attend, that we can continue to have the facilitation required at MTCC Caribbean. In terms of the selection and the composition, it's always a good idea to have an odd number in the event that there is disagreement. So we have the committee consisting of no more than 9 members. Again, this is open to your feedback. Membership of this committee will be for the duration of the project. The project ends in 2019, and we're continuing to move at a pace, so we can't exactly, it will be a little bit clumsy to start replacing members. So when you commit to this, we expect that you will commit to 2019 in the first instance, and then as we enter the other phase, when indeed we would need a lot more support, because within the other phase we will be, hopefully by that time we would have secured funding or continued funding in support of the project. So we need very much a strong regional steering committee to assist us in implementation and to facilitate the partnerships that we need. In terms of the composition, that is the outline we have, and as I said, we're very open to your feedback as to what else should constitute this regional steering committee. As I mentioned, these are the sub-regions, and I apologize for St. Lucia for not being there in the Eastern Territory, but you are not forgotten. We have amended the actual TORs and recirculated it this morning to include St. Lucia in the Eastern sub-region. But essentially, these will be the regions that we will be identifying, and you're being asked to identify a leader to sit on the Regional Steering Committee of MTCC Caribbean. Any volunteers so far? St. Lucia look quite interested. What's happening here? Right, okay. Did I miss anything? Sorry, my slides are not doing what I expect them to do. So, why is it going back? Okay, I'll roles and responsibilities of, of the Regional Steering Committee. So, these may look quite familiar to you, Anton. So, in terms of the Regional Steering Committee, what we are asking you all to assist us in dissemination of information, help us in communication, because so often we don't reach all the stakeholders or unaware of some of our key stakeholders. So in terms of information dissemination of the project, we would expect that your offices, your administrations will assist us with that, linkages to your website, virtual communication, social media, etc. Perhaps most importantly, we expect that you would advise us on matters related to MTCC Caribbean's objectives. Because if we need to refine our approach, you are the persons that are best placed to tell us that this isn't working, why it is that you're not getting the feedback or the data. So we need your feedback to ensure that we are continuing and are responsive to the needs of the industry. Advise MTCC Caribbean on regional priority issues related to climate change and shipping. A lot of you identify the GLOME project as one of the initiatives that we should take note that is in existence and will have some continuing objectives. So with respect to that, we also ask that, if there are national interventions that you're aware that we can synergize our efforts with, if you're aware of an online system that we can twin our resources with. Again, this is the type of feedback that we need. Advise us on potential partnerships and opportunities for the project. If you have a huge benefactor or you have imposed a serious corporation tax in your country that leads to, you never know, excess funds that you can apply to the environment, or you have introduced an environmental tax that allows us the opportunity to tap into that. These are the types of things that we want to get your feedback on. So as the Trinidadians here will know that, for example, we have the Green Fund in Trinidad. And one of the Green Fund was expected to be a presenter here today. Unfortunately, the schedules didn't allow for them to be here. But that is one of the agencies that will be targeting for sustaining the project, because the Green Fund is in fact funded by petroleum levy, a tax on our petrol that goes towards funding environmentally related projects. So with that in mind, we will be filling out a proposal and going through the process to ensure that we can get sustainability for the objectives of MTCC Caribbean. So if there are similar initiatives in your countries, please share with us. Participate in meetings both regionally and globally. Well, this is one that we have to be creative, because with cost cutting, I'm sure most of us would have been in administrations where everyone is saying, okay, all travel suspended unless they're paying every step of the way. So in this respect, we may also have to partner in ensuring that we have representation globally. So even if we can't attend, if we know that a member of MTCC Caribbean is in attendance, to communicate so that you can also represent on our behalf. That even if we need to make a submission, whether it's at a conference of the parties or whether it's a pre-meeting or a workshop, if you're attending this, we are also willing to give the material and to partner with you to facilitate our representation. And we have done this successfully in the past as well, where we have our industry champions going out to regional conferences, and they would have carried our brochures or banners. And most recently, our MSD made a pitch for us to host the ballast water data clearinghouse information center for the region. So we were not one of the funded participants, and our MSD asked us, would you like to entertain this? We submitted the presentation. It was made on our behalf by the representatives of the MSD. So this sort of partnership, we hope to take it regional, because right now I think we have, there's always room for improvement, but in terms of the local stakeholders, we do work closely with a lot of the industry leaders. And where we find that members of the Regional Steering Committee have specialist technical expertise as well, we may ask that you assist us with technical expertise for activities on pilot projects as may be needed for MTCC Caribbean. So in terms of operationalizing the MTCC and its daily matters, we intend to meet quarterly. If you believe we should meet more often, we're open to, again, amending this. But we think that a quarterly basis is a good idea. The months we have, January, April, July, October, are the targeted months in terms of our quarterly meeting. And the dates and times of these meetings will all be communicated through our permanent secretariat. That's our technical secretariat that you know of. And as far as possible, and again, in terms of managing our carbon footprint, we are hoping to have our Regional Steering Committee meetings through video conferences. We do have some very good software as a university that we have used in communicating with some of you, and we use it in terms of consulting with persons overseas, and it works very well. So don't be surprised if some of you get a Zoom link and you just have to click on it, allow the software to install, and voila, you're in our offices. So in terms of video conferencing, we do have that facility, and that is a mechanism that we hope to be using in terms of operationalizing the meetings of the Regional Steering Committee, where of course there are opportunities for us to actually meet, and it's a cost-effective meeting that we may actually end up in a meeting together, or meeting of senior maritime administrators. Of course, we will take those opportunities and capitalize on the presence of our senior maritime administrators and perhaps host an impromptu meeting. But that will not replace the stated quarterly steering committee meetings. Right. So location and management of the Secretariat, it will be here, 2nd Avenue, Northwestern Main Road, Chagaramas. That's where you are right now. More specifically, the MTCC offices are actually in the heart of the academic offices at UTT Maritime Studies. So headquarters for the permanent secretariat of the MTCC will be here. So you've been hearing about this permanent secretariat. What will they be required to do? The permanent secretariat will be facilitating your meetings. They will be responsible for agenda preparation, ensuring the invitations are sent out, drafting recommendations and reports for the meetings, providing updates on the progress of the GMN project and other MTCCs. Because again, we hope to continue that sort of cooperation and ensuring that you are properly informed of all the activities of the MTCC, so that when we meet, we can have more advanced discussions. Undertake and maintain communication with the membership of the Regional Steering Committee, and we do have some decent communication going, and we'll try to improve on that, perhaps common mailing lists. All of these things will become part of our daily operational procedures at MTCC Caribbean. Carry out activities of the Regional Steering Committee between its meetings. Now this is one that is very important, and in my experience in steering committees and standing committees, one that we take for granted. Very often I have seen where the objectives of steering committees and standing committees almost have the assumption that its members are full-time, are working full-time for this project. and that is that you all are busy. We recognize that when you come and you offer an idea, you will not have the time to execute on that idea. So the role of the Permanent Secretariat will be to assist in the execution of that idea as far as possible, because they are the full-time members of MTCC Caribbean, and they are the full-time Permanent Secretariat for MTCC Caribbean. So where you say it's a good idea to have an outreach, they will be the one that will operationalize that outreach and then tell you, okay, this is where you need to be, and here is your speech, hopefully. So we hope to get to that level where the Secretariat is capable of handling representation, orchestrating all of this with their eyes closed, hopefully. So, and they've been doing an excellent job so far, wouldn't you all agree? Good. So in terms of continuing and undertaking the work of the Regional Steering Committee, we understand that your position will be advisory, but the key implementers of your recommendations will fall to the Permanent Secretariat. So again, in the administrative aspect of what the Permanent Secretariat will be, they will be organizing the meetings. In particular, they will draft and circulate agendas, invitations at least a month before the meetings, organize the logistics, draft recommendation, action list, minutes, and proceedings. Some of you here may be corporate secretaries or have had experience working with corporate secretaries. Essentially, they will be our corporate secretary / environmental officer / are you getting scared? So they will essentially be our go-to person with respect to the Regional Steering Committee objectives. Facilitate high-level policy, and note, facilitate high-level policy and strategic advice to the Regional Steering Committee from experts and influential groups in between meetings and Regional Steering Committee. So again, this may arise where you would say it would be a good idea to have a workshop or a seminar using expertise from an expert from the IMO who's visiting in the region. So we capitalize on that opportunity, and they will facilitate our attendance or video conference meeting or coordinate to access that, that expertise. So in terms of what I need to underscore, they will be facilitating the high-level policy and strategic advice, not necessarily leading or giving the strategic advice. Participate in the preparation of regional strategies for the promotion of capacity building activities and the uptake of maritime energy efficient technologies and technology transfer in the Caribbean. Again, they will be taking your advice to facilitate in terms of the implementation and promotion of our capacity building objectives. In terms of the regional scope of the Permanent Secretariat, they will be facilitating the implementation of activities within the region, and this is again important in terms of the partners for implementation. We are immediately after this workshop moving into our first national workshop that will be targeting perhaps Jamaica or Bahamas to assist us in hosting this. We will have conversations in the coffee break in terms of that. But we are looking to initiate planning for that first national, which is essentially a sub-regional workshop almost immediately after the close of this event. Ensure the regional coordination of the Regional Steering Committee and liaise with national maritime administrations and bodies where necessary. So again, in terms of ensuring that perhaps a form is sent out or effective communication between the National Maritime Administrations and the RSC, this is where the Permanent Secretariat will come in to ensure and facilitate that. To cooperate and coordinate with other MTCC centers as well as other international research and diagnostic establishments, and to publish and distribute the full reports of meetings to delegates and observers concerned. So, as I mentioned, I'm most open to feedback, whether now or in our dedicated afternoon session. For those of you who have read it, feel free to give feedback. Feedback during the coffee break is great, but we want to also capture it in the discussions here. So, if anyone has